13 Americans and injured another 35 more. Look, technology is not always good. And instead of this guy walking around Bourbon Street with a cell phone, waving it back and forth all over the place, looking suspicious, he was able to just put on the meta glasses, baby, and just turn his head left and right, whistling around. And guess what? He was able to surveil the entire area and figure out where he was going to put, these explosive devices and what have you. Thankfully, those didn't go off. Could have been a lot more carnage, but that would be the first thing I would say. The other thing is that this is someone that was born here in the United States and was, I guess, recently radicalized, in other areas of the world and possibly even here. Immediately, the Houston mosque said, sorry, but not sorry. We're not talking to anyone. We're not talking to the FBI. We're not talking to any of the authorities and things like that. It's just been a hush-hush operation, basically. Not a lot is known. Obviously, this is someone that was in the military. And then you look at the other attack with the Cybertruck attack. And again, ex-military, right? They also knew each other from their days at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. So there's that connection. And of course, they both used the same app to rent their vehicles. So what is going on here? How many more, quote, lone wolves are out there? And what is going to transpire from now until the inauguration? I think that's the question that every American should be asking themselves.
We've got Josh Bernstein with us today, of course, the JBU show, and he is all over BitChute and Rumble and everywhere else, and he is the brand new best-selling author of Preserving Liberty. I will have to say, after having a off-air conversation with Josh the other day about how he has moved some of these books just locally, he could sell ice to an Eskimo and sell them the freezer to keep it in.
I was walking around yesterday.
That was impressive.
With my wife at a gem show. Okay, I don't care about gems. I don't like gems, but of course, my wife wanted.
I was waiting for you to say you went to the cat show.
Yeah. So instead, I said, "All right, fine. We can go to the gem show, but I'm going to grab the cart. I'm going to put a box in the cart, and I'm going to put the books in there with my little Trump Vance sign, and I'm going to wheel the thing around while you're looking at jewelry. And when people say I like your crazy shirts, then what I'm going to do at that point is give the book, put it in their hand, and say." Hi, I'm Josh Bernstein. I'm an investigative journalist. I wrote my first book to get around the censorship. I'm one of the more censored people in this country. And then I would say the same thing. The book has been endorsed by 2 New York Times bestselling authors, Alan Dershowitz, as well as Roger Stone. And the foreword has been written by a sitting member of Congress, Congressman Paul Gosar, who I know very well. And this is how to save the country. And I would tell them, they're $30 brand new online, or if you'd like, I can give you one right now for $20 and I'll sign it for you. I sold 18 books yesterday.
Oh my God.
At a gem show, where their goal is to sell the public, the vendor's goal is to sell the public gems, jewelry, rocks, granite, whatever it might be. And here I am walking around until eventually I got thrown out. But selling these vendors my books.
I don't know.
True story.
I don't know which is better: the fact that you were able to go wheel and deal and sell a bunch of books at the gym show, or the fact that they got your ass and threw you out of there.
They eventually threw me out.
Which is a better part of that story.
Yeah. They eventually threw me out after the third attempt because I went to the opposite end and sold 3 more.
That is amazing.
And then I went into another tent that was enclosed, and I sold another one. And then as I was coming out of the tent, they said, all right, enough is enough. And they escorted myself and my wife pleasantly off of the facilities and told us to leave.
That is amazing.
But I still sold 18 books. So,
that is
folks that are listening live, please, you can go to Amazon right now. You can get a copy of Preserving Liberty, Bold and Brave Solutions to Save America and Create Permanent Freedom. It is only $30. But it's the best $30 you'll ever spend. It's 150 pages, and you'll want a yellow highlighter in your hand as you're reading it, because my goal was to give the readers audible gasps at the information that is in this book.
That's amazing. So the other day, I have been talking to everybody about this today when I've been doing these little wrap-up year in review shows. The Presidential Medal of Freedom was given out by worst to first himself, Joe Biden. I look at this list, and there's a lot of great people on this list. I think that like Jane Goodall and Michael J. Fox and Magic Johnson and the chef guy, I think they all deserve an award, but not the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Is there something else we can give them?
First off, I'm going to say this, okay? The one person that you mentioned, the chef,
yes,
not a good guy. If we're talking about the same person, is that the person who was close?
Grease guy.
Okay, and he was close.
The world's central kitchen.
He was close with Ryan Wesley Ralph. There are pictures.
Oh, okay.
There are pictures of the two of them not holding hands, but arm around each other.
Oh, that was the photo I saw all over Twitter the other day.
Now, hang on. This, in my opinion, is I would say, an accidental admission of complicity. That's right. You heard that from Josh Bernstein. I am saying right now that it goes to show you that people at this fraudulent, thankfully leaving Biden administration, knew who the shooter was that tried to kill President Trump at Mar-a-Lago, or at the Palm Beach golf course where it was there in Florida. That was I guess an unforced error by the Biden regime to give that person not only a medal, but then immediately people said, oh, who is this guy? Oh, look at that. Pictures of him with the person that tried to kill the president of the United States, their political adversary, I might add. So when President Trump and his DOJ get in there, and the FBI, we need to investigate every single connection to Ryan Wesley Ralph and every single person and cabinet member and administrative state personnel that works in Washington, put it all together and start figuring out who was responsible for a lot of the things that have been happening. The second thing is this. I want this to sink in. Imagine this. The person who abandoned Americans in Benghazi, which led to the deaths of at least 4 Americans, was given the Presidential Medal of Freedom honor by the same guy who abandoned Afghanistan and left 14,000 innocent Americans behind, as well as the deaths of 13 service members. Let that sink in.
And then, of course, then you have Bono, who was on the plane.
I don't care about the rest.
The Epstein plane.
Magic Johnson, I could care less about.
My thing is if we're gonna give somebody an award, why don't we give Magic Johnson's doctor the Presidential Medal of Freedom? Yeah. That guy deserves it more than Magic Johnson.
Yeah, I don't know how that guy's still kicking, but still.
But so they had this, and I look at these people on this list, and I'm just like, okay, Mitt Romney's dad, why is he getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom?
What it is, it's rubbing salt in a wound. That's what it is. It's like taking an acid and throwing it in our faces and blinding us. Thing. Yeah, it's torturing us basically on the way out.
And then, I didn't know anything about whoever this David Rubenstein is, but the minute that you read the first 2 lines of his bio where he's like, well, he built the most successful global investment firm. Okay, well,
him.
You got to just say New World Order.
Yeah, exactly.
But so why do you think they did this? What was this just a thing of, let's just stick it to the conservatives?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I don't think any of those people really deserved any type of medal, or certainly not that type, especially George Soros. 40% of all murders happen in districts that his attorney generals and defense
and
attorneys
his
are supported by.
His bio on the whitehouse.gov website is a very impressive work of fiction. It says George Soros is an investor, philanthropist, founder of the Open Societies Foundation, and through his network of foundations, partners, and projects in more than 120 countries, Soros is focused on global initiatives that strengthen democracy, human rights, education, and social justice. I thought I would be able to get through it with a straight face.
Well, him and his spawn of Satan need to be in a jail cell.
Yes,
things that they have done.
Yes. Well, so they had we've had the truck attack, we had the Presidential Medal of Freedom, and then today I wake up and see that there's another pandemic on the horizon. The thing I don't understand about this is if you're going to do this, why would you do it at the very beginning when the guy's taking office? Wouldn't you wait until the end like the last time?
Or why wouldn't you have done it during the election? And thank God they didn't. Thank God they didn't. But look, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that President Trump is going to take us out of the Wuhan Health Organization. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that he's going to pull us out again, hopefully, of the Paris Accords. And he's not going to play the globalist game. And he's going to use tariffs and things like that. He's going to obviously even the playing field financially in the world standing and all that, and make these people pay their fair share. And he's going to do trade deals, smaller ones with other countries. He's going to do a lot of things that this fraudulent regime refused to do. And I think because of that, they're saying, well, how are we going to stop him? How are we going to stop America? And it's the old adage that, are we willing to burn down the house just to catch the mouse, right? And clearly, it seems as though they might want to burn down the house, in this case, the entire world, to catch the mouse, which, of course, in this case is President Trump. Let's hope that they don't do something as horrific as that. But look, it's pretty scary to think that, you know, just because of something happening in one country doesn't mean that eventually through the air, through the wind, through the water, through whatever, it's going to get to our shores. And that's the sad part. Even if we do ban people from coming into the country, I mean, when there's a pandemic, it goes around the entire world and globe. So it's pretty scary to think.
Well, and then the other thing that happened today is Justin Trudeau is leaving Canada.
Yes.
Which is amazing to me.
Yes. Castro's illegitimate child resigning from Canadanistan. And
is
it looks
leaving because Trump's coming in?
Yeah.
Is that why?
Well, it looks as though that they've lost all confidence. They know what an absolute abject failure he has been, but also the Conservatives are going to win. It looks like the Prime Minister or the parties or whatever it is that they do in Canada, because I saw a couple of polls that showed that I think they're expecting the Labour Party to gain 6 seats and lose 154. And I think the Conservative Party is supposed to gain like 238 seats or something crazy like that. So it looks like they're going to come back, hopefully, you know, with a nationalist, populist type of leader, which, you know, for Canada, I don't know, maybe that would be Mitt Romney, you know, but just in general, hopefully Canada will be made great again if we don't purchase it first, along with Greenland. Along with Greenland and the Panama Canal. So,
so Josh, another thing that happened just you know, as we just came into the new year, is all this talk of what you just got done saying, Greenland and all these other things. Break that down for people that have missed that.
Okay, well, first off, the Panama Canal never should have been given up for literally peanuts, for nothing. That's number one. Number two, it is a vital strategic area in which not just trade goes through, but also for military purposes and reasons as well. So I think that we should actually take it back, no matter what. So I think that's something that is smart for President Trump to do. Maybe not announced it right now. We could have gotten into office a couple months and then, oh, hey, by the way, we're taking that back. Oh, and if you don't like it, we're going to strap, 100% tariffs and cut off all of your foreign aid. So you're going to be forced to give it back, right? This is the power of a businessman and his ability to negotiate. As far as the Canada thing, obviously that's a joke. They're not going to take Canada. And quite frankly, do we really want it? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think we would want Canada. Why would we want Canada or Mexico for that matter? All it would do is turn America, which is barely conservative as it is, into an absolute communist S-hole. So we certainly don't want that. And then the Greenland thing, well, the Greenland thing is interesting because what is there, 50,000, 55,000 people that inhabit all of Greenland, and the capital city has like 25 of them, like half of them or whatever. And it's a pretty large swath of ice, basically. I mean, most of it's covered in ice, I think 60, 70% of it. But it does act as a barrier between Russia and the United States and some of the, the Scandinavian countries and things like that. So from a strategic standpoint, if we did have Greenland, we would be able to expound our military presence in that area and kind of keep a closer eye on, not just Russia, but Ukraine and many other countries, the former Soviet Baltic countries and things like that. Just kind of keep an eye on things a little bit better and a little bit closer. So I don't think it's that bad of an idea.
I know that there are so many people that I have talked to that when they heard about this, they just lost their mind.
You know what Trump should do? I'm in a comic. Trump ought to make a wheel, like a big giant wheel, and have every country of the world on it. And after he gets inaugurated and sworn in, he's like, all right, so just to let everybody in the entire world know, whatever this lands on is the next country we're buying. Boom. Oh, we're buying this country or whatever. I think that would be hysterical. The entire world would literally they would just soil themselves. They wouldn't know what to do because they wouldn't know if he was joking, if he was serious. And the element of surprise, the element of unpredictability is, I think, what makes President Trump so effective, because they fear him because they don't know what he's going to do.
See, this is the thing that I always tell people that I talk to who I know can't stand Trump. Part of his appeal is that they don't know what he's going to do. And I remember, it was 2 or 3 years ago, there was a bunch of jihad, guys that decided they were going to attack an airport in Iraq. And all of a sudden, Trump put all these Navy SEAL guys on a plane, sent them over there, and they bombed those guys back to the Stone Age. And then amazingly...
Which was only last week. But.
And then amazingly, there were no Muslim uprisings for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the thing. They don't know what he's going to do.
Exactly. And that's why I think Iran had a pretty bad 2024. And I would say that President Trump needs to be very, very careful, though. I've been telling anyone and everyone that I've been on, from the Dr. Drew show to Wayne Allen Root on Real America's Voice, anywhere I can go, I've been saying the same thing. I'm very worried about the inauguration. These drones are Chinese drones. We now know that. It's been confirmed. And they could be American drones too. And if they're American and Chinese drones, and those are the only two countries that have that type of capability and technology, then you have to ask yourself, why is this regime being so mum about it? Why are they making statements like it's nothing to worry about and just go about your business? Don't worry about, the SUV size drones that are flying over your house. And so I'm very worried about that. The other aspect is God forbid, because President Trump is not taking security briefings, neither is his transition team, from what I understand, they're keeping him out of this entire equation. He doesn't know what's going on, but yet he's going to have a wide open inauguration with his entire cabinet, mind you, there, not just President Trump, but Vance and the entire cabinet, all the nominees for his cabinet, they're all going to be there. What if, God forbid, this is a setup? So I've been telling people that President Trump ought to err on the side of caution, break protocol, go to a secured military installation somewhere. Don't tell anyone when you're doing it. Get sworn in. That you're allowed to do that. You can pretty much get sworn in anywhere as president. It's what the rules say. Get sworn in, as long as your hand's on the Bible and it's done by the Chief Justice. Get sworn in, and then once you're sworn in as president, then you immediately tell air traffic control no flights within 100 miles of Washington, D.C., and anything remaining in the sky that doesn't get the message gets blown out of the sky. All these drones get blown out of the sky. Once that the air is safe, then you proceed with your inauguration. That's what I've been telling people, because I'm very worried. I'll be honest, I'm very worried. And I hope I'm wrong. I truly hope I'm wrong. But why take the chance?
See, and I am amazed that he is going to hold a rally a day before that inauguration. I'm like, really? Are you just poking the bear? Is that what?
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's why I was getting so mad at people after he survived Butler. You know, they're wearing shirts and selling shirts saying "missed me," you know, try again. Like, why would you do that? Why would you egg on your enemies like that and instigate them to act even more violent? So I would never buy a shirt like that, make a shirt like that, and I would condemn any type of shirt like that, obviously. But look, I think he's brave, perhaps maybe stupid brave in a lot of sense. And I think that even after the first attempt, I was telling people he ought to just camp out in Mar-a-Lago, do a completely huge video production room and do rallies and do all kinds of things and speeches each and every day and stay in Mar-a-Lago and be safe. I didn't even want him back out after the attempt. I mean, obviously they put bulletproof glass in front of him and things like that, and that's great, but I wouldn't want anyone standing behind me if I was him. I mean, he's got to understand that so many people, by the millions or billions, hate this man around the entire world, and they want to see his demise. I wouldn't be doing rallies. I wouldn't be doing outside inaugurations. I would be watching everything and everyone and being very, very cautious, because we can't make America great again without the person who once made it great.
We've got Josh Bernstein with us today. He, of course, is a best-selling author. He has got the fantastic book, Preserving Liberty. One of the things that happened in 2024 was that this book came out.
Yes.
What was 2024 like with you and this book and everything?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, first off, I am one that is a truthful person, and anytime anything is not correct, I will have to, unfortunately, address it. I am not a best-selling author. I hope to be a best-selling author. If everybody's listening to this and they go out to Amazon and
buy
they
the book, you will be.
Liberty book, then perhaps I could be a best-selling author. But no, I am not. But I am definitely hoping to be one at one point. Yes, I have two
best-selling. If you're moving books like you're moving them, baby.
Two best-selling authors have endorsed the book. That is a fact.
Yeah.
But I'm not one of them yet. But it's been a very interesting year because, again, I don't know if I've told you the entire story, but I'll go ahead and tell it for everybody.
Yeah, go ahead.
So not this year, but the year before, right? So it would have been the end of 2023. I went to Turning Point, as I go every year in Phoenix, Charlie Kirk's Turning Point. And I was walking around, and here's the thing. I only went one day instead of going all four. I went one day just on Saturday. I went there with my security and my wife. And we're walking around and we see these different areas, and I see this big publisher with a big sign, and I see this young gal, and I walk over to the table, and I'm like, oh, Dr. Ben Carson, he's been on my show. Oh, Dr. Pierre Corey, he's been on my show. Dr. Robert Malone. So finally she stops me, and she's like, who are you? And so I told her who I was, and she's like, oh, have you ever written a book? And I said, actually, no, I haven't. I said, many years ago, I wrote something about Barack Obama somewhere around 2014 or so, and I called it The Great Squanderer because I felt he squandered his ability and his opportunity as president. And I said, but obviously that's outdated because it's all about Obama. And she goes, you ought to update it for today, in today's climate and presidency, and submit it and see if you can get published. And I thought to myself, wow, that's an interesting idea. You know what? I'll take you up on it. I'll go ahead and do that. So I went home and I wrote about a 15-page outline, basically, of what Preserving Liberty eventually would become. And I was getting ready to submit it. And then I'm very close with AJ Rice from Publius PR. And I noticed that in his public relations statements and PR press releases, he had one that said Tony Lyons, and it said Skyhorse Publishing, and it said co-founder of RFK Jr.'s 2024 PAC. And I went, wait a minute. I grabbed my business cards and I'm flipping through them that I collected from that day. And I went, Rachel, Skyhorse. And then I looked and I said, wait a minute, Tony Lyons, Skyhorse, this is the CEO and the owner? So I reached out to AJ and I said, AJ, please, if you can, get me Tony Lyons on right away. I want to interview him about RFK Jr. and everything else. And so through that experience, my goal was to talk to him off the air and ask him if I could submit the outline directly to him instead of, someone lower. And he said, yeah, sure, no problem. But what I didn't understand at the time is he was in the process of purchasing another company, Regnery Publishing, which has been around since 1942, big publishing company. And they were combining the companies. So he was a little bit preoccupied, shall we say, for quite a while. And so finally, in about March, I was able to get a hold of one of their senior editors, who has now become a good buddy of mine and a great person. He actually did the last 7 books of Alan Dershowitz, and great editor. And I worked with him. I got a Zoom call with him. He was excited. He said that he wanted to do the book. He said, let me talk to Tony. I said, oh, okay, no problem. What's that, a week, 2 weeks? He goes, no, an hour. I said, really, an hour? And he goes, yeah, in about an hour. So I get an email about 2 hours later, an hour and a half, 2 hours later. Tony gave us the green light for Preserving Liberty. So that's kind of how the whole story started. And now all of a sudden, here I am, not an author, never wrote anything other than for Breitbart, Washington Times, the Examiners, things like that. I've written articles, the Daily Wire, things like that, small stuff. Now all of a sudden I'm going, uh-oh, I got to write a book. And so what I ended up doing was I went back through 10, 12 years of investigative shows, and I watched a lot of my older shows, and I stopped the video, and I wrote and kept wrote. And then I kind of came up with an outline. I wanted to focus on preserving liberty. It wasn't about the social issues right now. It wasn't about the trans and all the other things. What can we do to preserve our liberty and not use government to solve solutions and problems? And so that's why I focused on, the electorate, the national debt, changing and balancing our elections to make them free and fair, reining in, this horrific press, or prostitutes, as I like to call them, that lie to the American people and are nothing more than Pravda media. And then I just kind of went through and the China syndrome and why the Second Amendment is important. So everything having to do, 10 chapters, with preserving our liberty is what I focused on. And of course, if I do sell enough books and become that bestseller, then my second book would be Preserving Our Culture. Would be the next one. And then I would go into all the other things of the social issues and things like that. But that's the story of Preserving Liberty. And I did it in, I started writing it in about the first or second week of April. And my goal was the target goal, actually, from the publisher was June 15th. If you can get it to us by June 15th, we can get it out before the election. So in my mind, June 15th, I wrote the book in 5.5 weeks. I had it to them the first week of June. And they said the earliest we can get it out is October 8th. Now, keep in mind, folks, October 8th is important for a lot of reasons. Number one, it's before the election. I didn't know exactly who was going to win the election. And the things that I put in this book, thank God President Trump did win the election, or I need 24/7, 365 security on me because of the things that are in the book and the people that I expose. That's number one. But number two, it also, the publisher picked October 8th, which is very interesting because we had no discussions. That was just the date that was chosen. My son turned 18 on that day, and it was my late father's birthday.
Wow.
So that was divine that the book came out when it did.
That is
I'm very proud of it. It's a great book. It's the textbook. If you want to know how to change Washington through Doge and changing Schedule F and the administrative state and how to knock out all the bureaucrats in Washington, this is the book that will help you learn about it.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. So what is the feedback been? Besides the fact that you can go somewhere that you literally wouldn't be able to sell, you think one book and you end up selling like 10 or 15 of these damn things.
Yeah, well, I think, I've been doing local speaking engagements, things like that. That's always good because, you can talk about whatever it is, not just the book, but just talk about whatever the subject matter may be, what to expect in the Trump term, how to get the cabinet members confirmed, all of that stuff. And spend 15, 20 minutes talking, and then at the end, do a book signing. And that's been working really well because, again, these people just had a chance to hear you. So now that they've heard you, they're going to be more enticed to want to purchase one of your books. So I've been kind of doing some of that. I'm also in the process, and you would know this, we'll keep this off the air, of the people we're talking to. But I am in the process of interviewing about 4 different publicists right now. And I think we're kind of down to 2, and one of them is the one that we talked about off the air the other day. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm hoping that with this new administration, with Brendan Carr, the FCC chairman, he's come out hot and said that he's going to try to force these social media companies to change their algorithms, change their ways, so that there's not as much censorship. And who knows, maybe I'll get lucky and YouTube will be forced to give me back my 300,000 plus subscribers.
That would be amazing.
I won't have to live in purgatory for the last 4 years. Folks, the reason I wrote this book was to get around the censorship that I face.
That would be amazing if that could get pulled off. That would be fantastic. And then I could
the LinkedIn account back 3 weeks ago, and that had my 4,000 plus people on it. So, hey, and I've been using that, obviously.
Just wake up one day, there was an email from somebody going, hey, your LinkedIn
it was multiple appeals. I had to sign a thing saying that I was going to be a good little boy and all that. But of course, there's no such thing as good little boy with me.
That is awesome. We have got Josh Bernstein with us today, and we are doing a review of 2024 and a look ahead of 2025. Some other things that happened in 2024 was this massive landslide victory for Trump.
Mm-hmm.
What in the world did you think when all this went down? I know that you, on purpose, stayed away from radio and TV appearances.
I did.
What the world? Go ahead. I'll let you talk.
I turned down about 3 offers to do video production, like podcast type of stuff, and sit in and talk about, the elections as they're happening. And the reason is not because I was afraid or anything, because obviously I've never met a mic I didn't like or a camera I didn't want to get in front of. But I digress. The reason is because I wasn't sure how baked in the fraud actually was.
Yes.
Clearly this time the RNC was very proactive rather than reactive. Thank goodness. So in other words, you see, judges don't like to take election lawsuits. Why? Because they don't want to be the arbiter of a decision like that. And they usually say there's no standing. That's what happened in 2020. So the RNC and President Trump, they all learned their lesson. If you're going to file a lawsuit, you damn well better do it before any of the votes are actually counted. And so they were very proactive. They filed over 120 lawsuits in the swing states, including like 80 or something between, I think, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin alone. And so they did what they were supposed to do. Anytime they saw shenanigans, anytime one of these secretaries of states tried to change the rules or say something to the effect of, well, it doesn't matter if the signature doesn't match the envelope, or don't worry about it if the ballot doesn't have an envelope with it, we're going to count it anyway. And of course, thankfully, the RNC filed these immediate injunctions and they were blocked by judges. See, judges will take and make things fair before the votes are counted. They won't do it after. That's the sad reality. So thankfully they did that. But look, we also have to understand the left was laughing at President Trump, saying, oh, he's got no ground game. He's going to let this young kid, Charlie Kirk and his organization. I almost thought I said somebody else for some reason. And he's going to allow him to get the vote out. Oh, we're going to cream the Republicans. Really? Well, I'm really glad that Charlie decided to not just talk to college students, but to actually become activists and to do what he did in Arizona and in Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Georgia and all these different states, Nevada, of course, and was able to get the grassroots out there, actively working on getting people registered, getting people out to the polls, doing the get out the vote operation. I will admit, when I first heard about it, I thought, wow, that's something that's different, right? No one's ever done that one before, relied on an outside group to do the get out the vote operation, but it was successful. And not only was it successful, but it should be the blueprint moving forward in every single midterm and presidential election moving forward until it doesn't work. And quite frankly, we also have to give a lot of thanks to two other people, Scott Pressler and Early Vote Action. I mean, the guy is absolutely an incredible patriot. What he was able to do in Pennsylvania with the help of now my new buddy, Cliff Maloney from Pennsylvania Chase, who I had the opportunity to meet at this last turning point. And just so happens to be, he was sitting to my left when I did a panel interview with the Chips and Salsa program. He just happened to be sitting next to me. And so it was the three of us as a guest panel with this show live at Turning Point. And afterwards we exchanged information, and he's a great person. The three groups are the ones that truly flipped Pennsylvania, and by flipping Pennsylvania, gave the presidency to President Trump. And more importantly, let's not lose sight of the fact, made sure that President Trump didn't die in a prison cell. Because that's where he would have been if, God forbid, heels up headboard Harris would have stolen this election.
That is amazing. Well, it's Josh Bernstein with us today, and as we wrap up here our hour here with Josh and talk about 2024 and 2025, what do you have on the horizon for this year, my friend?
Well, I'm going to get out of the political purgatory, the abyss, if you will, that I've been in the last 4 years due to censorship. And I'm starting to kind of branch out a little bit more, doing Rumble, doing X and things like that. I'm trying to gain more of my social media, footing that I once had. Because people that maybe don't know me, I mean, I was on Amazon Prime. I was on Roku television. I had millions and millions and millions of views before the 2020 election. But then, of course, I didn't play their game. And I exposed a lot of things that were going to be happening in the election on how they were going to steal the election. And of course, I'm no fan of Ilhan Omar or Ilhan Noor Saeed Omni. You can just Google my name and her and you'll find out. But so from all of that, I was ghosted. I was removed from all social media 4 years ago. And I had to restart at my website, joshbernsteinuncensored.com. It's called that for a reason. You can also find it jbushow.com for short. But I'm now branching back out. I wrote the book, as I said, Preserving Liberty. You can get on Amazon. I wrote it because it was a way to break through and swim through all the amounts of censorship that I face. But I am optimistic moving forward that maybe some of this censorship will be a thing of the past. At least we can hope, with the new people in charge, and I can kind of get my career back to the trajectory that it once was before the 2020 election. So if you want to help me out with that, folks, you can go to jbushow.com, but also please go to Amazon and pick up a copy of Preserving Liberty.
Fantastic. Well, Josh, I really appreciate you making time for us today. I know that we're going to be talking a lot more regularly in the new year, and we definitely have to have you come back on with Don Mazzella at some point. Those are always fiery conversations.
Those are fun. I like Don. He's a good guy.
Well, Josh, thanks for doing this, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
You got it. God bless.
Thank you, sir. There he goes.